Okay, so hi, Peter.
Hey, how you doing?
Everyone, I am here with Peter Propp, who is the marketing guru of Stanford Innovation Center, right in downtown Stanford on Atlantic Ave. We are talking with Peter as a part of our startup roadshow effort that the Whiteboard has taken on, and the Stanford Innovation Center has been a wonderful comrade in our efforts to get to know Stanford in our first month of the roadshow. They're our biggest guinea pigs as we do some deep dives into understanding the startup communities across Connecticut. And there are many reasons why we started with Stanford. One was they had a lot going on in April, so it was a great place to start. They had Startup Weekend and tons of great events, and we're about to wrap up our time there on April 28th by going to Stanford Tech Meetup. So I hope everyone will join us there. But we wanted to talk to Peter about the Stanford Innovation Center. He's so involved in both the big picture and the daily workings of making sure that that space ticks. So we've got a couple questions for him so that you can get to know what it's all about, and he can help us learn more about what they're trying to achieve down in Stanford. So Peter, I guess let's start from the beginning, just in case people don't know much about the Stanford Innovation Center. If you can give us, the quick and dirty of what the space is all about and how it came to be, that would be great.
Excellent. So the Stanford Innovation Center, we're in downtown Stanford. We're about a 10-minute walk from the train station, right in the middle of the heart of downtown. It was the old downtown. It's the new downtown, right near the Stanford Mall. We're at 175 Atlantic Street. And we have several parts to our business. We're largely what we call ourselves as an incubator. We're trying to grow a tech community here in southwestern Connecticut, and there really hasn't been a sustained, startup tech community in this region prior to us trying to do this. There have been, bursts of tech activity. Certainly, Priceline getting founded and Kayak getting founded were part of some big moves. But in terms of a sustained startup community ecosystem, we really haven't seen it. And that's really that's sort of the way we measure ourselves is, are we doing things that are additive to creating a long-term community, not just one event, one fun thing, one great startup, one new career. It's really about creating an attitude where everyone is trying to help each other in such a way that we grow some sustained and really interesting ideas over time.
Mm.
So our business really involves, it revolves around this tremendous building we're in, which is a 1907 Beaux-Arts designed Old Town Hall, and we have 16,000 square feet in this building. We have 2.5 floors of this building, so the entire second floor with a huge open space, which is really gorgeous. We have a whole third floor, which is private office space. We have right now we have 5 funded startups who rent private space from us, and they're terrific companies, ranging from biotech to sports media. There's actually a big data company that just moved in called True Optic that we're learning more about. And we're seeing new companies every day, so it's really fun. The other thing that we have is a co-working facility, which we call Workspace Stanford, which is why I'm standing in front of my Workspace Stanford sign. And you can visit us at workspacestanford.com. And that is a really nice co-working space. It's a beautiful space to work in, great Wi-Fi, free printing, great coffee. We're trying to be as cool as the Grove. We may never be quite as cool as the Grove, but we're okay with that. We're going to have to just do our best. But it is a great place to work, and we're gaining co-working members every week, and it's really exciting to see the growth. And and to build that from scratch is really cool. The other thing we're doing is building an education business. So we have this thing we call Innovation Ed, which is all about identifying some of the needs in the marketplace and some of the skills that our community has and tying them together in a classroom setting. So a practitioner who knows everything about public relations teaching a class on how to do your own public relations for cheap, or a practitioner who knows a lot about inbound marketing might teach a class on that, or a practitioner who knows a fair amount about coding. And we're actually very excitingly running our first programming classes starting in May. So an introduction to programming and an applied programming class that we're running. So it's a lot of stuff that we've got going on here, and the thing that ties it all together is events. And we do events on a regular basis, 2, 3 a week sometimes. And since we were started in 2012, we've had more than 8,000 visitors to our facility for different
Wow.
events and classes. Yeah. So we've been working hard at it. Events seem to be the thing we're really good at all the time. And we're getting better co-working, we're getting better education, and we're starting to see the startups not only prosper here, but prosper here, gain team members, and then, unfortunately for us, move out. So that's the sad part, but it's also really
Right, right,
cool
right.
because that's really what you want.
Yeah, on our first roadshow visit a few weeks ago to the Innovation Center, we sat down with Barry Schwimmer, who's president of the Stanford Innovation Center, and it was interesting to hear him say, that is actually the biggest measure of success, right? When you can launch those companies, like Media Crossing, and they come to you, they're nurtured by the environment, and they're basically shepherded through to the point where they can be successful, to the point where they can leave. It's sad to see them go, but at the same time, it's interesting to think of your success that way. It really makes you think about what your role is there, is to really be that catalyst
Well,
for companies.
exactly, and what we hope to see, and we do see it, is people appreciate the work that we put in to create an environment for them, but more important than them appreciating us, what we really want them to do is encourage and help and grow the underlying support system to allow the next generation of people to get their stuff going. So,
Sure, absolutely.
a single startup success is great. It's the cumulative effect that we're really, really going for.
And what has been your biggest challenge in building the Innovation Center?
I mean, aside from having to learn all about HVAC systems and Wi-Fi,
Yeah.
which I don't want to discuss. I know far more about those than either of those, and I care to discuss. No, the thing that I think has been the biggest challenge to date has been to explain and gain adoption for co-working. And I think we're nearing the knee of the curve. Perhaps we're in the knee of the curve right now, where it's going to start climbing faster. But in Manhattan, there's probably 100 co-working facilities. Last number I heard was 80, but that was about a year ago. So let's say there's 100 co-working facilities. The number of people who need co-working facilities is probably more than the real estate is there, and the reason is because the apartments in New York, especially if you're not crushing it, are quite small, and so if you're trying to do something interesting and unique and on your own, you probably have a pretty small place, and you have to get out in order to get that work done. So co-working is a real estate necessity.
Mm.
Um, in in Connecticut, the reality is that more people have more people have a little more real estate to roam around in. The smallest apartment in Connecticut probably has a spare dining room or a spare bedroom. And
Right.
so it's really rare that the real estate is the most important aspect of that business, of that person's need. And so what we've had to do is get people to think about what they could get out of community, and focus really, as much as we can on that community idea. And so
Mm.
that's really where what we emphasize all the time. So with the reason we do this event every Tuesday called Hacker Night is because we want to get people in here to be part of our community and to enjoy our space and to get the feeling of what it's like to hang out and get to hang out with smart people and hear what they're doing and hear what you're doing and build up that idea around community. It's the
Mm.
reason, by the way, we're bringing down the social media sync people from New Haven. They're
Oh,
going to start running their pancake breakfasts in addition to New Haven, in addition to the
I know,
Grove.
it's great.
They're going to be running it down here in Stamford as well every Wednesday. What we're trying to do is drive trial and make people recognize that it's not just about where you sit, it's about who you're sitting next to,
Mm.
and making people recognize the value of co-working in terms of it being a place where you're going to go to solve problems and gain success.
Mm.
It's not so much about the real estate as about the people.
That's really it's really well said. And it's funny when people ask me about what is it like as far as the entrepreneurship world in Connecticut, and comparing it to Boston and New York and in Silicon Valley, and one of the things I say generally is that if you think about what an entrepreneur is trying to do, the entire weight of the world is on their shoulders, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus a corporate job where you step into an infrastructure, a team, essentially a community. You step right into something that's already baked.
Right.
But as an entrepreneur, the onus is on you to create all of that, the
Mm-hmm.
team, the business, the product, and the community, unless there's a support system there for you to help, at least, foster some of that. So if you think about it from that perspective, then many people go, oh, wow, I guess the community is that important. Like it really can be for some people, I think, make or break.
Right. No, I think it's true. And you, talking to you about co-working is sort of funny because you started the first co-working facility in
Right.
Connecticut,
I
right?
did, yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the day when people said what? It's really, there, most people would say, well, I have co-workers.
Right.
What does this space mean? So yeah,
Exactly.
it's amazing to see how far it's come. That was, over 5 years ago, 6, 7 years ago. And, I mean, it's way beyond anything I ever would have imagined.
Right.
I did it out of necessity because, I was basically working out of my dining room in my slippers and not showering for days, and it just wasn't right for anybody. So I basically started it because I needed to be around people, and it was my first job, on my own, not working in an environment with other people, and I realized just how much I couldn't stand it.
Right. Right.
So, but
Yeah, I think it's powerful. And we see people, we see designers, next to strategists, next to programmers, next to, finance people that are doing not the sort of startup finance. They're doing crazy world trade finance that, you and I it would take us a few minutes to really understand what they're doing. But those people know stuff and they have things
yeah,
to add. And it's they're quite interested in all the different activity that's going on, and
right.
so it really creates this cumulative effect of community, and that's really what we're trying to build. And one of the things that people ask me is why hasn't there been a startup community in this region? And I asked it myself. I spent about 15 years of my career at IBM in the software business, and I would travel the country and travel the world looking for partners that were working with IBM software to solve interesting problems. And so I always wondered to myself, well, why am I traveling to to Europe to talk to a business partner. Where are the business partners for IBM in Westchester, where IBM is based, or in Fairfield County where I live? Because I know there's a lot of ex-IBMers, current IBMers there. I know there's a lot of
Mm,
smart people. Why aren't they building startups? And it's just not, you know, part of our overall DNA, I think, in
mm,
Connecticut to be building tech startups. It's just not what people have done. So, the answer is the reason that there's no tech community here, or not a big enough tech community or a recognized tech community, is that there hasn't been, right?
mm.
It's a self-fulfilling question, and the only way we're ever going to get through that is just to keep on doing the work we're doing, keep doing the great work in the Grove, keep doing the work that we're doing here in Stamford, up in Hartford, at Reset in Manchester, and in Danbury. And if we do that, if we keep talking to each other, if we keep on networking and seeing how we can help, and I think that's a real key, is an attitude that is the first question you should be asking people when you meet them is, what do you do?
Mm.
And let me understand your business and see if I know anyone that can do anything. And if you start that way, you can have a wonderful, wonderful dialogue and
Absolutely.
get a lot of progress going. So
Absolutely. I love that. I think, it's interesting. In my conversation with Alex Fervo, who runs the Hacker Night, I was really fascinated by the fact that, he's not a techie, he's not a technical guy, but he basically hacked his way into an event to create something that has brought in a diverse mix of folks together, where they previously had possibly looked at each other as competitors. Now he has people coming together and actually working and collaborating together on business. So it's to me that way in of open collaboration is the only way we're going to get some things done in this state, especially since if you look at our geography and how spread out we are and how there are pockets of startup communities, but there's not a super concentration like there are in other cities.
right.
We have to work that much harder to
Yeah.
build that community.
Yeah, I really I wanted to compliment you guys. The new whiteboard blog and the whole website is just gorgeous, and the way
Oh, thanks.
you've changed it around to give it that regionality and to make sure you're populating the different sections with content from those regions. I think is a really powerful construct, because it really speaks to it. I mean, we can say, yeah, Connecticut is doing great, but if you're only featuring companies from one region at a time, you're not really doing it. And letting people
Right.
see the overall and the individual strength at the same time, I think I mean, a web architecture doesn't mean all that much unless you're into it like we are. But
Right,
I,
right.
I do think there's something there. It's sort of a metaphor for the way you have to do it. The it's like what the movie makers say, right? That the truth is in the facts, right? In this
Mm.
case, the facts are in those regions. And if you spread it out and just say, Connecticut's amazing, well, it's not. I mean, some regions have more going on than others.
Yep.
And if you look at those stories and then you say, oh, well, we've got a company like that, or we know some smart people who can do it, or they've got a great makerspace in Danbury, we could do one of those in wherever.
Sure.
That's when it gets really interesting, because you base your thoughts on facts versus, oh, the state's got it all under control. There's no need for more work because it's all happening. It's not all happening. It will happen.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Well,
Yeah.
that's great that you're walking away with that from the website, because that's absolutely what we're trying to do. My goal is to have an entrepreneur at any level, even though our audience is really focused on early stage, the folks really coming in. I want any entrepreneur, whether it's an established one or someone coming in, to look at that website and go, have it be first accessible, like, wow, there is a lot of things happening in Connecticut, and I should be paying more attention to the community. I should be getting more involved, because that magnetic pull of energy and just amazing things happening in Connecticut will pull people in. It will just naturally draw them in, versus having them look elsewhere. That's our biggest goal, is to make sure that people are looking in Connecticut to
Yeah.
to stay rooted. So
I think it's great. Hey,
oh,
I've got to jump to
yeah,
my next call. But this is really fun.
this was fun.
We should do it again.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Maybe I'll start like video Skype series where I just
Absolutely.
interview really fun people.
Sure.
So,
Sounds good.
well, thanks for your time, Peter. And I'll see you tomorrow when I come for my visit, and next week at Stanford Tech Meetup, and
Stanford
hopefully
Tech
more.
Meetup. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be off the hook.
Well, there is an after party,
There
and we do
is.
have a bus full of people coming.
A
So,
bus.
a bus. So,
Sweet. Awesome. We'll catch
thanks,
you
Peter.
later. Take
All
care.
right, take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.